Bridging India's internet gap with satellite technology is a promising solution, but it comes with significant security and geopolitical risks. Digital public infrastructure, such as digital identity and payment systems, has become essential for accessing both public and private services in India. By 2024, India ranks second globally in internet usage, yet only 49.15% of its population had internet access. Rural and remote regions remain largely unconnected, highlighting the limitations of existing terrestrial networks and mobile broadband. Deploying and maintaining internet infrastructure in remote areas is estimated to cost 10 to 20 times more than in urban areas, making it financially unattractive for providers to expand their services. But here's where it gets controversial. Satellite internet offers a potential solution by bypassing geographical challenges and providing seamless connectivity in remote regions. Recognizing the potential of satellite internet to bridge the digital divide, the Indian government has opened its satellite internet market to private operators. However, India's approach is shaped by the need to balance national security, geopolitical trade pressures, and sovereignty. A new frontier of great power competition, US-based Starlink, with a constellation of 7,578 satellites, dominates the global low Earth orbit (LEO) satellite market. Its closest competitors, such as Eutelsat's OneWeb and Amazon's Kuiper, lag significantly in scale. Starlink has secured or is close to securing operational authorizations in several countries, including India, partly due to U.S. officials pushing for regulatory approvals during trade negotiations. Countries are wary of relying on foreign operators, leading some to launch their own constellations. For example, China plans to deploy 3 mega constellations, including SpaceSail, Guowang, and the Hongyang constellation. Similarly, the European Union is developing IRIS-2, a multi-orbital constellation aimed at providing satellite internet across Europe. A contested terrain, capturing just 1% of India's consumer broadband market, could generate nearly $1 billion in annual revenue for Starlink. Major global satellite operators are thus keen to enter the Indian market. To operate, they must secure a global mobile personal communication by satellite (GMPCS) license from the Department of Telecommunications and authorizations from InSpace. Early entrants like OneWeb and Reliance Jio's joint venture with SES have navigated the regulatory process successfully through domestic partnerships. In contrast, Starlink and Kuiper faced hurdles, particularly regarding data localization and foreign ownership restrictions. Starlink began pre-selling its services in India without formal approval, leading to interventions by the Department of Telecommunications. The company also resisted India's data localization requirements and was initially reluctant to comply with ownership disclosure norms. Despite these setbacks, Starlink's entry gained momentum after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the U.S. in February 2025. Within a month, Starlink announced retail partnerships with Airtel and Jio. In May, the company received a letter of intent from the Department of Telecommunications, and in June, it was granted a GMPCS license. On July 8th, it received InSpace authorization, valid for 5 years. While trade imperatives have facilitated Starlink's entry, its dominance in the business-to-business and business-to-consumer segments is not guaranteed. OneWeb focuses on business-to-business services, while Jio caters to both segments, leveraging its established market trust and extensive telecommunication network. Starlink's close ties to the U.S. government and Musk's positions, especially during the Ukraine-Russia conflict, may lead India to approach defense-related partnerships with caution. For instance, OneWeb has already begun providing services to Indian defense personnel under a provisional license. The competition between terrestrial and satellite broadband is evident in India's unresolved spectrum allocation debate. The government's decision to administratively assign spectrum to Starlink has drawn opposition from domestic telecom networks like Airtel and Jio, who argue it creates an uneven playing field. The policy imposes a 5-year licensing term and 4% adjusted gross revenue as usage charges, aiming to balance competing interests, but facing legal scrutiny. Balancing state control and national security. The Indian government is increasing regulatory oversight to mitigate national security risks. During the recent terror attack in Pahalgam, Kashmir, unauthorized Huawei-based satellite phones were allegedly used to circumvent security monitoring. Satellite signals crossing international jurisdictions make it challenging for national authorities to control communications over LEO satellite infrastructure. For example, unauthorized Starlink devices were seized in conflict-ridden areas of India, allegedly used by militants to circumvent internet shutdowns and by drug smugglers to navigate the deep sea. Starlink denied requests for information on seized devices, leading the Indian Ministry of Home Affairs to direct the Department of Telecommunications to implement measures to avoid circumventing geographic restrictions. Amended security mandates for GMPCS license holders require all communications to be routed through domestic gateways and operators to establish control centers for direct communication with Indian authorities. Operators must actively monitor user activities in designated zones and restrict cross-border data flows, mandating data localization and enforcing government-issued website blocking orders. These mandates aim to encourage local production of technologies, requiring license holders to indigenize at least 20% of their ground segment. However, they fail to address vulnerabilities stemming from technological dependence on foreign firms, which can compromise national autonomy. For example, U.S. officials have used restricting Starlink access as diplomatic leverage over Ukraine, impacting both Ukrainian and Russian forces. In late 2023, Starlink refused activation near Crimea, and in May 2024, the U.S. Department of Defense restricted Russia's access to Starlink. Russia circumvented these restrictions by procuring Starlink devices through black market websites. Such incidents demonstrate how geopolitical conflicts extend into global digital communications infrastructure, which is increasingly used to achieve foreign policy goals. The GMPCS license enables the Indian state to control data, information, and service delivery, but it does not fully address challenges when foreign firms act as tools of coercive statecraft. India's push for satellite internet reflects a dual imperative, bridging its digital divide while safeguarding national security. Despite growing competition, a fundamental question remains: can satellite internet effectively serve India's rural and remote regions? Satellite internet is significantly more expensive than terrestrial internet or mobile broadband, potentially leaving many unconnected due to financial constraints. This shifts the nature of the digital divide from an issue of accessibility to one of affordability. While satellite technology offers a viable solution for remote connectivity, its integration comes with geopolitical strings attached. The expedited regulatory clearances for Starlink, juxtaposed with delays for competitors, highlight how trade diplomacy and strategic alliances shape India's satellite policies. And this is the part most people miss. Reliance on foreign operators introduces vulnerabilities, as seen in Ukraine, Russia, and ICC sanctions cases. India is addressing some concerns with data routing and localization requirements, but it needs to think deeply about balancing open markets with national priorities in an interconnected global system. What do you think about India's approach to satellite internet? Is it the right balance between bridging the digital divide and ensuring national security? Or are there better ways to achieve these goals? Share your thoughts in the comments below.